Yeah, man. So this is where it all started, right here, in these stumping grounds. Every single thing that I learned about on how to be a man, I learned here. If you can see my little toy car right here, uh, had a little playhouse. I'm a little embarrassed because I haven't come back home to help fix up my mother's garage, so that's what I'm going to do this summer. But um, this is where I shot hoops, and this is where we used to barbecue. I would really say that to come back home, it feels good because you sometimes you do have to go back in order to move forward. You got to know where you came from so you can know where you're going. I feel grateful right now. I really do. Who do I attribute fatherhood to? Man, that's it's a buffet of experiences. I say that because like I wasn't raised in a two-parent home. My father, he wasn't here. He was in Ohio. And so for the most part, my ride or die was my mother. But the great thing was we had massive support. I had aunts babysitting me. We had my mother's parents, which obviously are my grandparents. My grandfather was really my my foundation of what manhood is. He was the blueprint. My grandfather taught me how to ride a bike, um, taught me how to look at the world. He's the man that taught me how to fight. My grandfather's the one who was the first man to give me beer and liquor. Said it would put hair on my chest. Um, so, my grandfather's really the first person that I looked at, and not to discredit my dad at all, because I don't have what most people would consider a deadbeat dad. He was a young dude. I mean, my mother had me at what, like 19, 20 years old. They were still trying to figure this thing out. So he was a young man who really didn't step into manhood yet. And here it is, a boy now have to be forced to be a man because he had a son. He decided, hey, either I'm going to stay in Buffalo and do the same things over and over again that I've been doing and not progress, be out here in these streets and not raise an effective, great human being, me, or his thought was I can go out of town, get my education, join the military, get my life on track, and though I may be gone from my son, that's a sacrifice I'd have to make because I don't want to mess his life up by messing my life up. Looking back now, I'm grateful for that. I used to not be though. It was really hard for me knowing that my dad was about 3 hours away and I didn't see him often. It was something that I struggled with. But these are all the little things that kids they experience, when dad's is not home. And they're I see people who had mom and dad together coming to school, checking on their homework. And for my mother and father, it was like separate shifts. So that was something that I had to grow up and figure out that everything had to work out the way that it did. So my father could be the man he could be, my mother could be the mother she could be, and so that I could one day be the man that I am right now. So I'm really glad for all those experiences. I think about my best friend, uh, his dad, Herb. Herb Jones was instrumental in me learning how to be a man too, because um, Herb was a family guy. Loved his wife, loved his children. Herb constantly would hug you and kiss you. So he's the type of man that showed me that it's okay to be affectionate. And I'm really grateful for him. I call him Daddy Herb because truly, man, he was like a second father to me. My uncle Juki, man, he was the other dad to me too, because it seems like every Saturday, right? He would take me out and my cousin Scooter. He would take us out to basketball, play basketball, go to the YMCA or whatever gym he played at, and he's the one that showed us how to work in a team. How to He's the guy that was really consistent with me every single week. Uncle Juki was really instrumental in my life as well because he taught me how to be consistent with your kids, man. And if I didn't learn anything from him, I learned that to be consistent with your children. I can't forget about my mother's brother, Arlo. Arlo was my uncle, about 10 years older than I am. And Arlo and I were raised uncle and nephew, but really brothers, you know? Um, I remember being about 10 years old, and my mother and my grandmother told me, stop calling him Arlo, call him Uncle Arlo. And for me, it was like mind boggling because I'm like, for 10 years, I've been calling this man Arlo because really he felt like my brother, you know? So Arlo really helped shape the man that I am today as well in terms of being a father because I saw him with all of his children. His first boy, then he had a girl, then he had another girl, then another girl, you know? And I saw that he really practiced that scripture, be fruitful and multiply, and he stayed consistent in his children's life, and he stayed really consistent with his wife. You know, they're still happily married today, and I'm grateful for Arlo, man, because he taught me a lot, man. He was the bigger brother that I never had. It's funny you asked that question because I was asked that earlier today. I don't really know about what makes me a great dad. I think for the most part, I never had to force myself. You know, it's just something that pulled me. Fatherhood pulled me to it. I enjoy it. I love it. I have no regrets about it. I knew that I wanted to be a father. The age that I was, I executed. I did it. I knew that I wanted to be married. The age that I was, I executed. I did it. So in terms of fatherhood, I really feel like God took an arrow, right? And I'm that arrow. He took his bow and arrow and just casted me out to hit a bullseye. And the bullseye that I hit was being a husband and a dad. Because that's what I was created for. And that's what I truly believe I was put on this earth to do. To be a husband and a dad. And man, it's the greatest feeling ever. Greatest feeling ever. My fondest fatherhood memory, I have a lot of them, and I know that I will have a lot as time goes by, but mine's is kind of weird. My fondest memory is not when my son first walked or when he first said dad. Mine's is when he went to the hospital for a surgery, a major surgery that he had. And the reason why I'm so fond of that memory is because when he got off of the operating table, they only allow one person in the room. So my wife tried to go, and she was emotionally invested into the whole thing. So of course, for her, she saw her baby in pain, saw that he was crying, blood was coming out of his nose and out of his throat, and he really just messed her up, so she couldn't do it. I mean, really, I guess it sort of made the situation worse because my son loves my wife to death. Like right now, he is leaning more towards his mom than ever before. I'm a little jealous, but he didn't want her in that moment. He wanted me. And how I know that is because when I stepped into the room, the nurses were holding him, and as soon as he saw me, I could just sense the relief come out of him. Yeah, he still cried, but I knew that he felt everything's going to be okay, you know? And excuse me. Uh I'm grateful for that moment, man, because it really showed me that I'm doing stuff right. You know, when my son came out of his mother's womb and sitting there under that little heater thing, I was the first voice that he heard. And I started singing to him and he stopped crying. And that like clicked, like, wow, he really knows his dad's voice, because I used to talk to him through his mom's stomach every day. And I'm really fine about that moment because I know that at the end of the day, whatever pain my son goes through, he knows that his dad has him. Yeah. Yeah, he knows that I have him. Name right here. Okay. My name's Sharif Ali II, and I'm a dad. Happy Father's Day. Peace.